Welcome to another deep dive. We're grabbing our source material, jumping right in, and pulling out those essential bits, the knowledge, the surprising insights, just to get you informed fast.
Yeah, and today we're looking at excerpts from an article called Avoiding Common Crypto Investment Mistakes.
Exactly.
And this isn't just, abstract advice. It's really rooted in actual experiences, sometimes tough ones, from people who've been in the crypto market. Gives you a real sense of where newcomers often trip up.
Right. So our mission here is to unpack those specific points from the article, really understand the pitfalls it talks about, and pull out the key lessons, for navigating this whole space a bit more wisely. The article has this great analogy. It says, getting into crypto without any guidance. It's like trying to drive a car on a really tricky road with zero experience and, no GPS.
Yeah, that captures it well. And the goal, drawing from these experiences in the source, is to help you start building your own kind of internal map for that road.
Okay, let's get into it then. The piece starts with something pretty stark. It mentions a young engineer who lost, get this, 70% of his investment in his first 2 months.
Wow, yeah.
That right there tells you, this isn't a space you just wander into and expect things to go smoothly. Seems like beginners often hit the same hurdles.
Absolutely. And what this article does really well is pull together those common, often quite painful mistakes people make again and again. It's about learning from others' missteps, hopefully, before you make them yourself.
All right, so let's tackle the first one the article really stresses.
Yeah.
Investing more than you can afford to lose. We hear this rule all the time in investing, right?
We do, but the article makes it very real with a powerful story. It talks about a Kef who worked at a bank.
Okay.
And the really tough part is he invested all of his wedding savings, everything, into a crypto he thought was a sure bet.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and when the market turned, the financial hit was huge, obviously, but the personal cost, as the article recounts it, well, he lost his fiancée directly because of it.
Wow. Okay, that really hits home. It makes the afford to lose rule about so much more than just the cash.
Definitely.
And the clear rule the article takes from this is, look, never put in money you absolutely need for, essentials or big future plans.
It sounds simple, but the lure of quick gains, it can really tempt people to gamble with money they just can't afford to lose.
Okay, moving to mistake number 2. Buying calm based on media hype. This feels so relevant right now, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You see something blowing up in the news or influencers are all over it. It creates this huge pressure, this FOMO, to get in quick.
Right, fear of missing out.
And the article explains why that's often a bad move. It points out that usually by the time something gets that kind of widespread media buzz, its price has probably already shot up a lot, maybe even past its peak.
So you're basically jumping in near the top, paying a premium because of the hype.
Pretty much. The smart money might already be on its way out by then. The article even quotes Warren Buffett here. Be fearful when others are greedy.
Which means, in this case, when everyone's piling in greedily because of the hype, that's probably the time to be cautious, not join the party.
Exactly. Be wary of that herd mentality.
That leads nicely into mistake number 3, not doing enough research. Seems obvious, but the article shows it happens all the time.
It really does. It shares the story of Lama, a pharmacist. She unfortunately put her money into something based purely on a tweet she saw from a famous influencer. Didn't dig any deeper herself.
And what happened? Let me guess.
Yeah, not good. She found out later the whole project was just a scam. Her quote in the piece is pretty telling. If only I had spent 30 minutes researching, I would have discovered the red flags.
Oof, 30 minutes. That's all it might have taken to avoid losing who knows how much? That really drives home the point about basic due diligence.
It does. And the article implies that even a quick look, checking the project's website, seeing if the team looks legit, maybe glancing at what people are saying on forums that aren't just pure hype, even that can sometimes reveal major issues. Things like vague promises or no real tech behind it.
Right. Basic checks. Okay, next. Mistake 4. Trying to time the market. I think everyone kind of falls for this one at some point, crypto or not, thinking, oh, I'll just wait for it to dip a bit more, then I'll buy.
Totally. It's that temptation to nail the absolute perfect entry point. But, the article's pretty clear. Accurately predicting the lowest low or the highest high. It's almost impossible, even for the pros who do this all day with fancy tools.
So what usually happens when you try and wait for that perfect moment?
Well, the article suggests that more often than not, you just end up missing the boat. Either the price never drops to where you wanted, or it shoots up while you're still waiting on the sidelines trying to be too clever.
Yeah, I can see that. Which connects to mistake 5, over trading. So making tons of buy and sell moves really frequently.
Right. And the more you trade, the more chances you have to make a mistake, maybe react emotionally. But the article points out something really practical beginners often miss: the fees.
The transaction costs just adding up and up.
Exactly. It tells the story of Fadi, a software engineer. He was apparently trading dozens of times every single day.
Wow.
And he eventually figured out, yeah, he won some trades, lost others, but the sheer amount he was paying in fees just ate up nearly all his potential profits.
So you can even be right sometimes, but if you're churning your account constantly, the house still wins through fees.
That's a good practical point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mistake number 6 feels like maybe the biggest one for many people: getting swayed by emotions.
Yeah, the article calls fear and greed the biggest enemies of a trader. And it's true, right? They push you to make irrational calls at exactly the wrong times.
Like seeing the price rocket up, feeling that FOMO kick in, and just buying without thinking because you don't want to miss out.
Or the opposite, the price starts dropping, panic sets in, and you sell everything immediately, locking in losses you might have recovered from if you just stuck to your plan. Emotions override logic.
Definitely. All right, mistake 7 is critical in crypto: ignoring security. This is digital money, the risks are different, absolutely crucial. And the article gives a really stark example here. Huda lost her coins because her computer got hacked. The mistake: she kept her recovery phrase, the master key to her wallet.
Let me guess, in a file on that same computer.
Exactly, right there for the hacker to find.
Oh, that's a painful lesson in digital security hygiene.
It really is. And the article hammers this home. Security in crypto isn't optional. It's not something you get around to. It's fundamental. You have to be proactive about it.
Got it. And finally, mistake number 8, not having a plan. This covers, well, everything really. Why are you investing? When would you buy? When would you sell? How do you handle losses?
And the article basically says, if you go into crypto without a clear strategy for those things, entry, exit, risk management, you're just setting yourself up for trouble. It leaves you wide open to making all those other mistakes we talked about.
So it's not just about dodging individual errors, but having like a framework built on these lessons learned. The article brings in that Robert Kiyosaki quote: "It's not how much you make, but how much you keep." Feels very relevant here.
Absolutely. And keeping what you make, especially in a volatile space like crypto, really boils down to avoiding these common basic mistakes first.
And the piece does offer some practical advice, right? Not just warnings. It gives an example strategy. Something like maybe allocate just a small part, say 10% of your portfolio, for the really speculative stuff.
Yeah, and keep the other 90% for longer-term holds in projects you've actually researched and, understand and believe in. It's about managing that risk exposure.
That makes sense.
And it also mentions specific tactics, like always using stop-loss orders, setting up an automatic sell order if the price drops to a certain point. The article frames it as a way to protect your downside, but also, importantly, to stick to your plan instead of letting fear make you panic sell.
Right, it takes the emotion out of it a bit.
Helps too, yeah.
So, this deep dive into the source really underlines that, look, everyone successful in this space started out as a beginner, just like anyone listening now who's new to it. The key difference, as the article seems to conclude, isn't never making mistakes that's probably impossible. It's about learning from them. Ideally, learning from the mistakes of others, like the people Akef, Lama, Fadi, Huda, whose stories are shared in this piece.
Exactly. Their specific concrete experiences, as laid out in the article, offer some really valuable practical lessons for anyone trying to navigate crypto more carefully.
So as you think about these common traps and the lessons from the source material we've unpacked today, maybe consider this. The article mentions that the next step, moving forward, is actually defining your own investment goals and building a clear roadmap for your financial journey in crypto. So the question for you is, have you really defined your goals yet and started sketching out your map for this space?
Thinking about that next step, but grounding it in avoiding these past errors, that feels like the way forward.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into avoiding common crypto investment mistakes, all based on the real experiences highlighted in our source material.